Yo, this is Teresa Weatherspoon, better known as Teaspoon, and you're watching Real Fans, Real Talk.
Live from the can. Vibe, you can't.
This is Real Fans, Real Talk. Real Fans, Real Talk. We as real as you thought. Real Fans.
What's going on? Welcome to another live edition of Real Fans, Real Talk. We got some things that we got to speak about. And I don't want to hear nothing from nobody in the comments today because we're going to be talking about LeBron James today. So I don't want to hear nothing about none of that right now. All right. But before we get into that, if my co-host unfreezes, I see you. I can see you. I can hear you, but it's froze still. Eric, we got to get Eric back in order because there's some things we got to speak about today, and I don't want to hear y'all mess today. So we're gonna let Eric get right, and then we got some things that we're gonna be speaking about today. All right, so y'all just hang tight for just a second. Let's let Eric get his stream right, and then once we get Eric back, then we're gonna go in. Obviously, y'all know about the trade heard around the world. Yes, there we go. They'll see, because they knew we had some things we had to speak about today. Now, without further ado, let me introduce my brother, my co-host, Eric Sanchez, aka Legend in 2 Games. What's going on, man? Oh wait, hold up, Eric. I think you froze again. See, they playing games today. They don't want us to talk about LeBron today. That's why they're doing this right now. Because they don't want to hear about LeBron James today. So that's why they're trying to freeze you out, Eric. But it's all good because we're gonna wait. We got time today. Let me sip my tea right here.
We good? We good?
There we go. I told you we got. We ain't rushing. We're gonna get this thing right today.
Yeah. Let's hope there's no interruptions for the rest of the show. Let's get to it. We got a lot to discuss because there was some history made in boxing last night. The news dropped today of a historic fight that will be happening later this year. And then, of course, the trade heard around the world. The trade that happened as LeBron was trying to enjoy a late dinner with his family in New York City. That has shaken up the NBA. So whenever you're ready, Trip, let's get to it.
Man, we not normally I would start with football this week because we only got one more week left. But don't nobody give a damn about the Pro Bowl. So we going straight to it. And we already gave our pick last week anyway, but we'll drop our picks again just because people be, but y'all know what's going down. Luka Doncic is the newest member of the Los Angeles Lakers. He was traded for Anthony Davis, and a couple other some picks and some pieces. I'm gonna start by saying this. I understand the move for the franchise moving forward. Luka's 25. He's not even really in his prime just yet, and he's already one of them ones. Okay, I was watching something today where it said he already has more All-NBA first teams than Steph, which is crazy to me. And we know how we feel about Steph. That's the greatest shooter God ever created. Okay. There's only 4 current players that have more All-NBA first teams than Luka, and that's James Harden, that's Kevin Durant, that's LeBron James, and I forget the one more I forget. But in any event, I understand it for the Lakers. And I'm gonna wait because they said they're gonna be making more moves before the trade deadline. So I do understand if you get a guy 25 who's MVP caliber, he's gonna be your franchise guy for at least 10 years. Anthony Davis, who I love and is having an MVP season in his own right, and I wanted him to stay because I thought the Lakers actually were starting to really gel, even without making any moves. Anthony Davis was playing well, especially the other night when the trade went down. I'm like, all right, Anthony Davis on the bench. This is a big win for them, beating the Knicks in Madison Square Garden because the Knicks are playing great basketball right now, 3rd in the Eastern Conference. LeBron, look great, triple-double, AR. Everybody looking good. I'm like, all right, Finney Smith starting to, get his groove in with the team. So I'm like, all right, we should be good. If we can maybe get a Miles Turner to give them the center that they've been asking for, I think the Lakers have a legitimate shot because they're looking good. But of course, business is business. And we may have to actually revisit the Jimmy Butler situation too after how everything went down with the Lakers trade. But again, this is for the future of the franchise. You get a 25-year-old MVP caliber player who's one of the best in the league right now, and you can build around him from there. Even though LeBron was, up in the air about this thing as well, he has said that he would like to play with Luka, maybe not at the expense of losing Anthony Davis, but he has also said that he will not be leaving the Lakers this before the trade deadline. So it looks like he's going to be here, and he's going to try to figure some things out with Luka whenever he comes back. But Eric, what's your take on this trade? Who won this trade? Who lost this trade? Or did both teams win, or did both teams lose?
Well, that's very easy. The Los Angeles Lakers won this trade, and they won this by a landslide. This was the easy one. If this was battle rap, this is a 3-0. For the Lakers, let's start there for the Lakers. As you mentioned, they win on Saturday night in New York, primetime game without Anthony Davis. LeBron was amazing in that game. Austin Reeves was very good in that game as well. But coming out of that game, the Lakers had won 16 of their previous 24 games. So they were starting to trend in the right direction, as you mentioned. And tonight, they sit 5th in the Western Conference, in a very tough Western Conference. But the talk has been all along, are the Lakers good enough to compete for a championship, or were they just a playoff team that probably would go out in the first or second round? And this has been the talk around the Lakers for about 2 years now, because I feel like the Lakers had hit that crossroad moment where for the past 2 years, they had the star power, and we had been asking for AD to take on a larger role as a leader and as the best player on his team, so that LeBron could kind of fade into the secondary role, which was where he should be at 40 years old. But the Lakers didn't have enough to get over the hump. And so they were going to keep getting stuck at this moment where we're good enough to be a playoff team. We're good enough to put a threat and a scare in some teams, but we're not good enough to beat the best teams. Like, they're not going to beat Denver in the playoff series. We know that. They're not going to beat Oklahoma City in a playoff series. I don't know if they're good enough to beat Memphis or even Houston. Like, they're top heavy because of Braun and AD, but I don't know if they were going to be good enough to beat any of those teams in a series. And then they make this move. And Rob Pelinka, to me, now becomes a lifelong Laker. He gets to keep the job as long as he wants, because Rob Pelinka, since he's become the GM of the Los Angeles Lakers when Magic Johnson stepped down back in 2019, Rob Pelinka somehow turned all those young assets they had, Trip, which I was critical of at the time, Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram, he turned them into Anthony Davis, and they won an NBA championship the very next year. And then now he's turned Anthony Davis into Luka Doncic, who by most people's account is a top 2, top 3 player in the league. And he's 25. He's not even in his prime. You mentioned all NBA selections. I think only Braun has had more all NBA selections in his first 7 years in the NBA than Luka Doncic. And again, Luka is 25 years old. And for me, this move makes so much sense for the Lakers because, one, you didn't have to give up much, right? Yes, you gave up Anthony Davis, who is an all-star, is probably going to be all NBA second team this year, is having probably the best 2 or 3 year stint of his career the last couple of years, because this is the healthiest he's been over the last 2.5 years. But he's 31 years old. And as I mentioned, you weren't going to be able to upgrade the roster much around Braun and AD. You also were going to get stuck in a very, very tough spot, because if Braun decides to walk away from the game either this year or next year, there was no real way to have a contingency plan for Anthony Davis moving forward. Because then even if, let's say, Braun plays next year and you lose in the first or second round of playoffs, now you're looking at trying to build around a 33-year-old center who has an injury history. But now, Trip, you got Luka the Dom. You got the 25-year-old point guard who we've seen go to war with a lot of teams where he had no help. And you know the Lakers are going to go try to find him help now. The Lakers are going to build around him because this is the Lakers' pedigree and this is their history now, where when they get their star, they're not just happy with getting one star. They will find a way to get the secondary star. It's their long history. You look back to Kareem and they drafted Magic. You look at Shaq and Kobe. You look at Kobe getting Gasol. And then later on, even when they got Kobe and Dwight Howard, when they got LeBron and they got AD, this is what the Lakers are going to do. Even if we want to go further back in history, Wilt Chamberlain with Jerry West, this is what the Lakers are going to do. And if I'm a Laker fan today, I'm really still in shock that all it took was Anthony Davis, Max Christie. No disrespect to Max Christie. He'll probably be a good rotational player with the Mavs. He actually played well on Saturday as well, which made the timing of the trade even more suspicious because like, wow, he just probably came off one of his best all-around games and he's getting traded. But you only had to give up 1 first-round pick. And I don't even think in 2K you could get that trade approved, Trip. I don't think you could trade Luka for a first round, especially in the current climate of the NBA. When you look around, every team is giving up 3, 4, 5 first-round picks for all-stars and megastars. And to only have to give up 1 is a major, major win for the Los Angeles Lakers. On the flip side, the Dallas Mavericks lost this trade completely, and they did a terrible job with this trade. And their general manager might be fired in the next year or 2. There is no way, there is no justifiable reason that you could say we're going to trade our franchise star, who's 25 years old, who is still under contract for another 1.5 years, because even though he could start talking about his extension, a new extension would not take place until after next season. So the summer of 26 is when the new extension would take place. This guy just led you to the NBA Finals last year. And you trade him without creating an open market. You didn't allow other teams to bid on him. You didn't even put out flyers to see what teams might have offered you for him. You kind of did it. And said, yeah, you called one person and made a deal.
We got something fell at the back of the truck for you.
Yeah, you called one team, and then, like I said, if I'm the Mavs, even if Anthony Davis was my guy, let's say if Anthony Davis was the number 1 priority on their list, and they say that's the type of player we want for Luka, okay, then I'm going to make the Lakers give me Austin Reeves as well. I'm going to make the Lakers give me both their first-round picks that they had available. What if I'm the Dallas Mavs, realistically, the 2029 first-round pick, you think the Lakers are going to be bad in 2029 when Luka is going to be 28 years old, 29 years old, and they're probably going to go find another star to play with him? That pick is going to mean absolutely nothing. So the Mavs were terrible. What's good, Will? I see you, bro. The Mavs did an absolutely terrible job of handling this trade and then trying to justify why they made the trade. They got super cute with this. They're trying to say, oh, we're worried about his conditioning. You don't worry about a 25-year-old's conditioning. Like, cut the nonsense out. You don't worry about that. Secondly,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I hear teams complain about Luka and about Jokic every year coming in. Oh, they're out of shape. They need to be doing this and that. And both of these guys are MVP candidates every year. Continue.
Yep. The Mavs, first they tried to make it about that. Then now the news clippings are coming out saying that they were worried about the super max that Luka would have been able to get. Even with this trade, the Mavs did not create an opportunity for them to have massive cap space. Anthony Davis, after this season, is still due 3 years of $175 million. And now you're in a situation where you're building around a 31-year-old Anthony Davis and a 32-year-old Kyrie, both guys who have had injury history. Neither one of those guys has ever won anything on their own. And now you're telling me you're building around those two guys. And this trade is going to put them in a very tough financial spot because PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford both only have 1 year left. I don't think they're going to be able to extend either one of those guys unless you're basically saying this is the team we run with. Because remember, Klay Thompson signed that 3-year deal. Klay Thompson still has about $35 million of cap space over the next 2 years that he's taken up. So unless you're telling me we're just going to lock in with this team, and this is my nucleus for the next 3 years, and I'm going to try to win with this, again, it still makes no sense. You could have got so much more. You could have created an open market for Luka, and teams would have thrown you multiple picks along with players right now who could have helped you stay competitive.
Yeah. You might as well start saying, you might as well just say 32 because Anthony Davis will be 32 next month.
Yeah.
So you might as well say, two 32-year-olds. And how old is Klay? Klay about what, 33?
35, 34.
34? So it's an old man's league. And again, I do think that Kyrie, Klay, and Anthony Davis can be a formidable trio, but I just don't think it's enough for them to win a championship. I don't know when Derek Lively is coming back off an injury, but I just don't think it's enough. One, and then the other thing, you're talking about Luka's conditioning and this and that, and not to say Anthony Davis is not in good shape because he is, but he's another injury prone big. He's another injury prone guy. So you traded a young star, who's arguably top 3 right now in the league for an older big man who is also injury prone. And you're talking about you want to win now. I don't know if that team even has enough to win now. They are formidable. I think because I respect Kyrie Irving's game so much. I respect Anthony Davis' game so much. I do think they can make a run in the playoffs. I just don't know about a championship with this roster. And you pretty much this reminds me, Eric, and we got to go all the way back, but this reminds me of the Boston Red Sox sending Babe Ruth to the New York Yankees. That's what this reminds me of. You sent somebody who is a top 3 player, not right now, and hasn't even hit their prime yet, to the Los Angeles Lakers to make them a dynasty. Like, I don't know what was this decision making behind this. And again, if we saw Rudy Gobert, because I know you talk about these trades, go for 4 first-round picks and a whole bunch of other things, you telling me you don't think you could have got more than Anthony Davis, was it Christie, and a first-round pick? And then
One pick.
No, that one. The second one to the other team. It was a 3-team.
Yeah, to Utah.
I don't get it. And I don't think I ever will. But kudos to Rob Pelinka, like you said. Kudos to the Lakers for pulling that deal off. As much as I feel like they had a chance, this season with how much they're playing. I mean, you're talking about somebody who's top 3 right now in the league. You can't deny Luka. And then on top of that, which was actually shocking to me, is the Lakers title offense went from 40-1 to 18-1.
Yeah,
that's great. And you would think, you losing your defensive anchor, that would change things and make it worse. But the title odds went up with Luka. So I'm excited to see Luka return and how they they mesh. I'm also excited to see what other moves they make, because they said they're gonna be making a couple of more trades before the trade deadline is up. So I want to see how that plays out.
There's early speculation that the Knicks and Lakers have had conversation already about Mitchell Robinson to the Lakers.
Well, the only thing about
now, right? Take that for what it's worth, because Mitch still hasn't played yet this year.
Yeah.
And if you're the Lakers, you wonder what you would have to give up, because the Lakers don't have any pick that they can give up over the next couple of years. And for the Lakers, you also would have to probably try to find some sort of salary to dump the other way, which would make sense for the Knicks. So maybe it turns into a 3-team trade, but there are rumors that the Knicks and Lakers spoke about a potential trade involving Mitchell Robinson. And to further highlight what we talked about, where players you getting more and things like that, De'Aaron Fox is a very good player. De'Aaron Fox got traded yesterday. Trip, that the Kings got 3 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks for De'Aaron Fox, and got Zach LaVine.
Wait, he's top 3?
Who?
De'Aaron Fox.
No, he's not top 3.
Oh, okay, just asking.
Not top 3.
I'm asking for a friend.
Yeah, I'm just saying he's not. I mean, if we were ranking the top point guards in the NBA, it'd probably be with some order of Luka, Shea, Jalen Brunson, Steph, Cade Cunningham. That probably would be like your top 4 or 5 right there. Let's not forget Trey, because I think Trey's played phenomenal this year as well. But De'Aaron Fox is a very, very good ball player. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But the fact that the Kings were able to still get a quality player like Zach LaVine and get 3 first-round picks over the next 6 years and 3 second-round picks, that's how it's done. So I don't know what the hell the Dallas Mavericks were thinking, that they were okay with just 1 future first and Anthony Davis, pretty much.
And on top of that, you're talking about 1 future first from a team that's most likely going to be in the playoffs, because Luka was taking teams to the playoffs before Kyrie Irving.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Before the emergence of Jalen Brunson. You know what I mean?
Luka was going to war with the whole Western Conference when it was just him.
Yeah.
So and you really think in 4 years, in the next 4 years, the Lakers aren't going to go get him his number 2, his running mate? They'll
have the cap space, because I don't see LeBron playing another 4 years.
Well, after next year, realistically, after next year, the only 2 key pieces that the Lakers have under contract after 2025, 2026 are Luka and Austin Reeves. Everyone else is an unrestricted free agent. Rui's contract comes off. Finney Smith contract comes off. LeBron, obviously, I don't think LeBron will be there. But if he is, they'll have to figure that out. But again, he's not on the books right now. So they are in line to make a lot of moves, even going into next season with the forward thinking that 2026, 2027, we're going to have a lot of cap space. So we can start making moves now to fill in this roster. They're not going to, I guarantee you. And the fact that they have the luxury of knowing that Luka is under contract at least for another season. That extension won't take place just yet. They can make moves to fill out the roster around Luka with the thinking of let's get him his running mate, and 2026, 2027, that's the year that we really try to compete because we're going to build the roster around Luka. The Mavs, like I said, completely dropped the ball on this. And I think we're going to hear some stories come out because this feels a little personal to me too, Trip. It just, the fact that they called one team, made the deal, and we're done with it seems like it was something personal there. By making this trade, Luka lost $115 million because now he can't sign the Supermax. Right. Yep. He can't sign the Supermax. And those little details to me just come across as like, this was personal. Mm-hmm. You didn't even at least shop me. You didn't at least have a conversation with me and check the temperature of like, maybe I did want to resign and stay. Like, how could you make that decision for me after everything I've done for the organization?
Yeah, and let me say this, because before all of the LeBron haters start coming out the woodworks, no, LeBron did not have anything to do with this trade. He found out about it like everybody else found out about it. Because I know everybody, see, LeBron said Anthony. I don't want to hear that. LeBron ain't have nothing to do with this trade. This was the Mavericks calling the Lakers on a low, like, yo, listen, you want Luka? He fell off the back of the truck. You can get him at a discount. Give me AD, a first-round pick, and Max Christie, and we got a deal. This trade was the owners taking control back and saying that player empowerment. I saw this coming years ago as discussed on the Opinionated Ones. See, here you go. See? That's because of Will.
Well, Will is right. I'm not going to say 100% right, but he's right probably 85% of the statement because, yes, we did talk about this, and I do agree that this was specifically on the Lakers side because Clutch, we've talked about that as well, that Clutch has run the Laker organization since Braun got there. So the fact that AD is a Clutch client and they didn't speak to Braun, like, come on. You telling me nobody say, yo, Braun, they called about AD, man. If the Lakers kept that close to the vest and didn't tell Braun, that is their way of kind of taking control back and saying, look, Clutch doesn't run us. We're going to do what's best for the Los Angeles Lakers. And I agree with that. The owners taking control back to a certain extent. The Dallas situation is very unique because Mark Cuban is trying to sell the organization. And there has been some talks that possibly a new ownership group wasn't going to want to pay Luka the Supermax, which is kind of what we saw in Minnesota, because the reason Minnesota made that trade of Karl Anthony Towns for Julius Randle was because the new ownership group was not going to pay that second apron luxury tax. And so they tried to find a move. So there are parts of it that I agree with Will, where it's like, hey, some owners say that again.
I'd say the Knicks won that one.
Right, Knicks won that one. No, and Will, you're right. The environment, the player empowerment and the environment was set by Braun and Clutch, and there are going to be some guys who are going to suffer because of that. And it is what it is. And I think it's not just the owners. I think the league in general, because with the new cap rules and the first apron and the second apron, you're seeing it right now. Like Jimmy Butler is a guy who 4 or 5 years ago, when your star player requested a trade, he got what he wanted. Now, because of the hard cap and the second apron, teams have to be more mindful of that. And you see the Miami Heat playing hardball now, where it's like, we can't trade you nowhere. So you got no choice but to sit at home and just be suspended at this point. So it's a combination. I don't think it's all owners, but I do think the owners that are in position to say F you will say F you to the players.
And you know what? The as crazy as it is, the Dallas Mavericks actually did the Lakers 2 favors with this trade, because you give them top 3 player, not even in his prime yet. That's one. But you also, since you stopped him from getting the Supermax, now the Lakers just save them money now, because they re-signed Luka, and Luka is going to stay in LA. He's going to love it out there. Luka is like you call him Luka the Don, he gonna really be Luka the Don with the Los Angeles Lakers.
Mhm.
He's gonna get nothing but love. They're gonna give him the key to the city. They're gonna roll out the red carpet for Luka because he's one of those guys. All right. You want to go back? He's gonna be for this next decade of the Lakers. He's gonna be, you know, with how Magic and then Kobe. He's gonna be now the guy that's gonna carry this thing for the Lakers. And guess what? Like you said, they're gonna build around him and they're gonna put a dominant team around Luka. And we're gonna see in about 3 years how they looking, and it's gonna be a very good look for the Los Angeles Lakers.
Like I just think this was a robbery, no mask or gun required. The Lakers, the fact that Dallas called them, that's the part that sounds the craziest to me. Like, why the hell you got the player that everybody would want? Why are you making calls?
Yeah.
All you had to do was let it be known, yo, he's available, and people would have called you with all the offers. And then you could have sat back. Trade deadline is until Thursday. You could have sat back for the next few days and figured out, like, hey, is there a deal that we like right now that we want to make? Or maybe do we want to wait till the summertime when there's a little bit more available and we can kind of see where people's draft picks are? But to make the trade on a Saturday night and all you got back, and no disrespect, because Anthony Davis is going to be a Hall of Fame player. Yeah. He will be in the Naismith Hall of Fame when it's all said and done.
How many years you going to get out of him? 3? At this level? When you just gave up 10 plus years, maybe?
Possible. 10 years of Luka.
It don't add. The math ain't mathing to me, Eric.
No,
I'm sorry.
It's not. And like I said, Luka, is this the thank you give the guy who just led you to the NBA Finals?
Yeah. That's
like this trade. Imagine a couple years ago, right? Let's say after the Celtics lost to the Warriors. Imagine if that summer the Celtics would have traded Jason Tatum, who was like 23, 24 years old, for let's say I don't want to put anybody in Anthony Davis category, but I'm saying a 31-year-old center who had an injury history. Let's say like Joel Embiid. We would have been like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You would never trade the younger guy who has far more potential and has already shown you he can take you to an NBA Finals.
The Lakers traded Shaq, not Kobe.
Right. You don't trade the younger asset.
No disrespect to Shaq, because Shaq and Shaq, but
right,
he was
older. Right. He was older. You keep the younger asset. The younger guy gives you more opportunities to get back to the finals. Yeah. Now, like you said, now you got 2 32-year-old guys who have had injury history throughout their career. This could get really bad in Dallas.
I don't get it. Now, because we spoke about Jimmy Butler last week, but because of this trade, and we kind of see once again, here it goes up brass. You know, this is a business. So, do you think? Do you care that Jimmy Butler is acting the way he's been acting now? Seeing once again that the owners are going to do what they're going to do.
I am, and I'm still upset that Jimmy's doing it this way. I said that last week because Jimmy, as a leader of that team, was supposed to handle this differently. Shout out to Will because he referenced the KG and Paul Pierce podcast where they talked about it as well. Mm-hmm. Would Jimmy be okay? And I said this last week. You could rewind the live. Would Jimmy be okay if Bam Adebayo handled it this way? Would he be okay if Tyler Hero handled it this way? He would not. So for him to handle it this way and have these tantrums of storming out of practice, and now he's upset because he hasn't got the new contract. Then he gets suspended and he misses a team flight when they were going on a road trip. Then he gets suspended for that. And then he gets mad that they tell him, hey, you're going to come off the bench for the next couple games. At some point, you just got to just play ball. And to the point that KG and the Truth made is like, you just got to go out there and keep dropping 50 or keep having just amazing games so the organization has no choice but to give you what you want. But right now, you're making it easy for them to keep walking away from the negotiation table because nothing that you are showing them dictates that you're somebody they want to do business with over the next 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, let me pull up Will's comments. I gotta disagree with you on this one. Politics aside, who really won this trade? Luka is a guard that doesn't play defense. Guards that don't play both ends on a high level, that are the quote unquote leader of the team, don't win chips. I'm about to say I'm going to refer you to the book of Steph Curry, okay, chapter 36, verse 1, 2, 3, and 4 championship rings. And he's not an elite two-way player, has never been an elite two-way player, but he was the leader of that team. He did have 4 rings. Stephen Wardell Curry. There you go, right there. And he's gonna be alongside LeBron. He's gonna learn from LeBron too. Okay, he's definitely gonna learn a lot from being around LeBron for however long, whether it be another year and a half or whatever. He's definitely gonna be learning from LeBron James. But yes, Steph Curry is your point guard who wasn't an elite two-way player and he has multiple championships.
Steph is the greatest example of that. I think, Will, when you notice, you got to go. The team who got the better player most times wins the trade. But if you got the better and younger player, you definitely won the trade. So the Lakers won this trade. And let's not forget that even last year, we were calling Anthony Davis Mr. Glass. We were wondering if he could play 65, 70 games. Mm-hmm. So as great as Anthony Davis has been the last 2 years, he still misses a lot of games. And he still had not shown the ability to be a leader himself. And now you're asking him and Kyrie to be, quote unquote, the leaders of a Dallas locker room that I think is going to be divided, because there's going to be a lot of guys in that locker room that's going to be like, nah, Luka was our guy, bro. Luka led us to the finals last year. You got a lot to prove before I start following you guys.
Yeah. Will says you name one guy that's the best you've ever seen. That's all we need to prove your point wrong. Is one guy. He did it. Right? This is the land of the big men. But yeah, there are guys who are exceptional, elite, like a Stephen Curry, like a Luka. Because think about it, right? When you talk about what other point guards are on offensively have been able to do what Luka has done from rookie year till now.
No, none.
So
there's a reason why, like I said, that I think only Braun is the only guy who's been all NBA guy more times than Luka throughout the first 7 years of someone's career.
Yeah.
I mean, you can play devil's advocate, and I understand Will's point. You know, he's not a great defense player. You're going to try to build around that. But now the job, I would rather have the job of building around that than the job that Nico Harris has to do in Dallas now, because you have committed to 2 32-year-olds and you have very little cap space to do anything else with that roster. So as of today, that team was 26 and 24. They're the 9th seed in the West. Can any of us honestly say that they got better with this trade?
No, I can't say they got better. I'm not saying that they got bad, because you're getting a superstar, and you know what I'm saying, to run with Kyrie and Clay. But just look at the Vegas odds. The Lakers went from 40-1 to 18-1 championship odds. That tells you right there. I gotta check what the odds Dallas had to win was with Luka and without it, but I'm pretty sure the odds went down.
Yeah, I don't think Dallas got better short term or long term from this trade. Whereas the Lakers, we knew what they were this year. Lakers were probably going to be a first round exit. So I'm not going to be shocked if the Lakers, let's say, go on a little run and they end up being the 4 or 5 seed. Right now they're the 5 seed in the West as currently stands. If they get hot in the second half of the season and they're a 4 seed, but they still get bumped in the first or second round, I wouldn't be surprised, because I think that's where their ceiling was anyway. But what they really did was raise their ceiling now over the next 7 to 10 years. Because as long as you got a guy like Luka, now all you got to do, if you're Rob Pelinka, is just find the second star. And you're not finding that through the draft. You're not looking for that. You're looking for either a trade or a guy who is going to say, hey, I want to come to LA. And I'm going to say this now, just keep an eye out for Giannis, because if Milwaukee has another early exit from the playoffs, Giannis has already started to voice his displeasure. And I don't think it's ironic that he made the comments he made today, Trip. I don't know if you saw that, where he said, I want to see all the big name European guys play in a big city. Yeah. And he talked about Luka going to LA. He said, I would like to see Joke in a big city. He left himself out of that conversation, but I wouldn't be surprised if, hey, we get bumped early. Okay, I've done everything I can do in Milwaukee. I want an opportunity to go win some championships and play somewhere else, and maybe the Lakers are on his radar.
Yeah. Luka's looking to come back before All-Star break, so we're going to see. I want to see Luka versus the Dallas Mavericks.
They play 2 more times this year.
He is going to set the tone. He look for Luka to score 50+ in both of those games. Dallas is better positioned to win now than LA. Kyrie can be himself, and that's not a bad thing with a guy like AD on cleanup. Clay gets better too on kickouts from the post. But yeah, they're just extremely old. They just got a hell of a lot older right now. But again, I don't know that this team is better than the Lakers with Luka. I don't. I've got to watch. So we'll see. Give it a month. And let's see how these teams look, because I cannot clearly say that either team is going to be better right now until I see. Because one, Anthony Davis isn't even back yet because he still got the abdominal strain. So I don't know when he'll be back as well. Luka, again, he said he's trying to come back before All-Star break from the calf strain. We'll see what he does. But let's get both guys healthy. Give it about a month and see. Because right now, I don't know who's better.
I think
in the moment,
talent-wise, if you listen to the top 8 players on each side, Dallas has an advantage. I mean, but again, that's assuming that everyone is healthy. But that, to me, that's not what Dallas should be looking for. Because even with a healthy Anthony Davis, I don't think they can beat Denver. I don't think they're better than Oklahoma City. So you got Anthony Davis, but does that make you a championship team? Or does that just make you good enough to be, a respectable team? But I think they would have been that once Luka came back anyway. I mean, you look at how much he helped Lively and Gafford's game with the lobs at the rim and creating space. Like, AD's still going to do all that, and AD scores easier than either one of those other bigs, so maybe he makes life a little easier for Kyrie. But ultimately, I think they took a step down. I don't see them as a championship caliber team as currently constructed.
With Lively and Gafford at the 5s, AD can come and pick spots. Basketball-wise, on the whiteboard, Dallas can win. Yeah, I'm not saying – yeah, I'm just saying I don't know as of right now, right? Like, here's the thing. When you look at Luka and what he did with that roster, and even before they got Kyrie, he uplifted those guys. He pushed them to win, to become a legitimate playoff team, to get to an NBA championship team, right? If you look at Anthony Davis before he got to LA, superstar, you know what I'm saying? He's that level of talent, but he wasn't taking them on no deep playoff runs. He wasn't getting to no finals. He got with LeBron in LA, and they put a good solid team around him. And then, they went on, won a championship, got a couple of playoff appearances, but it wasn't, he didn't just like, oh, AD is here and we off to the races. It wasn't that. So I gotta sit back. I gotta watch. Like I said, I'm gonna give it a month. We'll see who's the better team right now. Because I can't say right now. Just looking at the trade, even though I think it looks good on paper, but LeBron is a guy that can play alongside anybody. So we gotta see. And now Luka. He not Steph. He ain't shooting like Steph, but Luka's a shooter. So now you're talking about a guy that can actually, shoot those threes and knock down big shots. He's going to take a lot of pressure off of LeBron on the offensive end of the basketball. I'm going to enjoy it and see. I can't wait till Luka gets back.
Yeah, I mean, Kyrie, I think, becomes a little easier to guard now without Luka. And then you got to see if Lively and Gafford will be as effective as rim runners now, because with Luka, I thought they played their best ball with him. The record shows that Dallas has struggled this year without Luka, and that's with Kyrie as your point guard, as your leading guy. So maybe AD does make it a little easier for them, And I understand Will's point, because I do think if you're just listing their top 8 guys, you're like, yeah, that's pretty solid, right?
But AD disappear too.
Say that again.
There's also a chance those guys disappear, and AD
right, and that's the point. I just think that Luka, we make a lot of issues about his defense. We talked about this a lot last year in the lead up to the finals, and everybody wanted to talk about it in the NBA finals, right? And I kept saying, we only talking about his defense when they lose, because when they win, he wasn't playing defense then either. But nobody cared because he's such a phenomenal shot maker, right? But Luka makes things easier for everybody else, because Luka is clutch. Luka will show up in those clutch moments. Now there's pressure on other guys to have to perform in roles that they normally wouldn't have to perform in. PJ Washington is not going to get the same amount of open corner threes. It's just a fact. People are not going to double on Kyrie the way they would have had to double and help off of shooters for Luka. Because when Luka got in the lane, he causes way more havoc. So I just think things will get a little tougher for the Dallas Mavericks in terms of their role players. It won't be as many open corner threes. There won't be as many lob runs, rim runs and lobs. So there's going to be some issues there. And like you said, we got to see how it plays out over the next 2 months to see if they can get stuff going.
Yeah, I'm an old school b-ball guy that gives inside-out basketball. That believes in inside-out basketball. This makes them that. Yes, but is the league that? Is the question. The league is not that anymore. The league is there's so many variations of teams that win championships right now. And it's, it's not, this isn't the 90s, the 80s where that's all it was. You can win with so many different variations of rosters. It's not just inside out, out basketball anymore.
Yeah, I mean, the evolution of the three-point shooting has really changed that, because teams will gladly give you the two for them making the three on the other end. And now I know every team doesn't shoot the three ball great. I know there are a lot of teams who overdo it, but the overall thinking is if you're going to take your time and work down a shot clock to get a post-up move from Anthony Davis, most teams will take that. So again, we're going to need to see how this team really gels and if their role players can play as well as they did last year with Luka, because PJ Washington looked great playing next to Luka. Derek Lively and Gafford looked great playing next to Luka. We're going to see if they can look great without Luka now when they have to share that space with Anthony Davis and Kyrie as the primary ball handler. Pause.
Luka's a shot maker, not a shooter. And with Braun, who needs his hands on the ball, pause, Luka can't thrive. See, again, here's where I'm gonna take you back in history, right? Because we heard a lot of these things when the big three in Miami got together. Oh, the Wade and Braun is both ball dominant. Who's gonna get this? Who's gonna do that? And guess what? They made 4 straight finals and won 2 of them. So it can. This is a different league. We have seen that LeBron can adapt his game to play along other superstars. So we just got to sit back, get your popcorn, and wait and see. Luka's also someone that LeBron has spoken about wanting to be a teammate with at some point. So, not I don't think he meant at the extent of Anthony Davis, but he has said he would like to be teammates with Luka Doncic. Now he's got his wish. He's gonna do what needs to be done to facilitate. And again, he didn't have a problem with pushing AD to be the guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's not gonna have a problem with pushing Luka to be the guy. Now it's still gonna be Braun's team because he's the elder statesman. But Braun again is not a selfish basketball player. He's not. He wants those guys to be the stars. So he's gonna do whatever it takes to get Luka acclimated as soon as possible and to get the best version of the Los Angeles Lakers team moving forward.
Honestly, that's a short-term problem anyway. Luka and Braun, that's not the long-term tandem in LA.
Yeah,
Luka and Braun play this year together and maybe play next year together, and that's it. I don't think Braun's contract is up after next season anyway. I don't think Braun stays there beyond next season. Whether he decides to keep playing or retire, either or. So that's a short-term problem that JJ Redick's going to have to figure out. But I do think there are areas where this can work with those two guys, because one of the things that I thought Jason Kidd didn't do enough of in the finals last year was take Luka off ball and allow him to post up at the elbow. Because Luka, who's such a big guard, and he's not really even a guard, but it's just his ability to handle and create makes him a guard, creates a lot of mismatches when he catches right around the free throw line. So LeBron and his IQ, understanding that, they're going to run a lot of that. And if you look back at Saturday's game, Trip, I know you watched Saturday's game, Braun played off ball a lot on Saturday as well. And he was catching on the wing and on the elbow and then going to work from there. So I expect them to kind of do the same thing. Will there be moments where Luka will get to do his dance? Absolutely. Because that's what the crowd wants to see. And that's what the Lakers want to see. They want to see Luka still be Luka. Will Braun have moments where he's isolated? Absolutely. For me, if Braun wants this to work over the next year and a half, Braun is going to have to get comfortable being the pick and roll guy. And then you create matchups. You target certain guys and you figure things out. And if you get the small guard on you, you take them down into the post and you just go to work. But the Braun Luka thing, I don't think we should take too much time worrying about how it's going to work, because that's a short-term problem for the Lakers. Braun and Luka are not going to be teammates beyond next season.
Yeah. Braun didn't adapt for the Heat. Wade and Bosh adapted to him. Let's not remake history.
I agree with that.
They both had to give up some of their powers to play with Braun. Wasn't D Wade the closer?
Yeah.
So then that means then he did adapt. So now, yeah, we know Chris Bosh adapted the most, but so he did adapt as well. They all adapted their games to fit what was going to be best for the Miami Heat to win championships.
I mean, they adapted their game more than Braun did, because obviously when they really took off, it was with Braun as the primary guy, and then Wade being number 2 and Bosh number 3.
Yeah.
But I don't even like to use the Heat situation, because again, the Heat situation, they had to adapt because they were going to play together for a little while. And the amount of pressure and the reason why they went to Miami was far greater than this. Luka going to LA, Luka is the future of the Lakers. LeBron is just there right now. They are not, like I said, I would highly doubt, I would bet the house, I'll bet my 401k, everything, that LeBron ain't playing for another 3 or 4 years. So
he might not have got Luka. He might take a pay cut.
Nah, he's not staying there that long. Braun, and I also think you made a statement early in the show, and this also news came up last year, and this is one of the things that not only we talk about here, but Will Gordon and I talked about. Mm-hmm. The Lakers have been silently trying to push Braun out the door. They haven't made it known publicly. But remember back to last year where the news was like about, oh, if LeBron's interested, they would trade him to Golden State. And then LeBron had to come out and be like, nah, I don't want to go to Golden State. Right? Now, what franchise would ever do their star player that way? Where it's like, I mean, if he wants to, it's up to Braun. If he want to go, he can go. But now, Braun, then the news came out today, and this is why I agreed with Will's point about ownership and kind of sticking it to Clutch. Mm-hmm. LeBron understood what the Lakers did by making this trade. They never consulted with him. Clutch never told him about it. Clutch probably didn't even know about the trade coming down the pipe. Pause. And the Lakers basically saying, we're taking back control of the organization. Braun, you had it for a few years. We did everything you wanted to do, but we're no longer going to continue to move in that way. So why then LeBron comes out today and what does he say? Well, I plan on being here beyond the trade deadline. Who was talking about you getting traded, Braun?
Yeah.
Nobody I know was talking about you getting traded, unless behind the scenes they're saying to you, hey, if you want to go pursue a championship somewhere else, feel free and we'll help you find the trade partner. And that's basically their way of politely pushing him out the door. So that's why I don't think Braun is there past next year. They may give him the luxury of saying, look, I know you wanted to play with Luka, and maybe we give you guys next season as a full season with a training camp. But after that, this is Luka's show. Yeah. And you're not going to like linger around and try to steal this from Luka. We traded for him because he is the future of this team, and it's going to be his team for the next 7 to 10 years. So we'll give you one more season with him. After that, you got to go.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen. Let's we done this NBA talking today. Let's switch over to boxing. We got about 12, 13 minutes left. Two big things going on in the boxing world. First of all, big shout out to the GWOAT, Clarissa Shields. Put the beats on that girl over the weekend. Undisputed heavyweight champion now. And now that's 3-division undisputed champion, which is crazy, unheard of. You got to tip your hat to her. Much respect. How dominant was she in this fight, though, Eric?
She's phenomenal. And what she's doing in the sport of boxing, women's sport of boxing, has never been seen. I don't know if we're ever going to see it again. Her power translating to all these different weight classes, dominating yesterday. I don't know what else to say, man, because we've talked about her for quite some time, and we've known she was a special, special fighter. But to see her go up and down in the weight, and then, like, even during this time of dominance of this dominating the sport of boxing, she also was doing MMA at times too. So now you're cross-training for something completely different while still keeping your skills over here. she is without a doubt the greatest woman fighter of all time.
Yeah, you got to give her the crown. If you haven't, check out the movie, support that. You know, she's outside. And she's not afraid to fight anyone. She ain't backing down from anybody, whether it be Layla Ali, whether it be Remy Ma, or anybody in the boxing world. She ain't backing down from nobody. You gotta respect it, man. Put some respect on her name. None but love for Clarissa Shields. Now, I think we got a super fight on our hands, Eric.
Ooh, we do.
Terrence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez. It's supposed to be going down in September. They're finalizing everything now. Talk to me about this fight, Eric. Is this going to be the biggest fight in some time, in a couple of years? Does it have that potential?
This is, this is the biggest fight since Crawford Spence. What was that, about 3 years ago?
Yeah.
In terms of mega fight, this is without a doubt the biggest fight since Floyd and Pacquiao. In terms of what it means historically, and in terms of these two guys being the best two in the sport for quite some time. You can look back at a pound for pound list over the last 10 years, and both these guys have been somewhere in that top 5 over the last 10 years. So the fact that they're making this happen, I think is great. I think the world of both these fighters. For Crawford, I think this is well deserved. There's a guy who was ducked by a lot of people, and it took him a while just to get the Spence fight. And then, he stood on business and said, I want Canelo, and I'm willing to go up to fight Canelo. And now this has been the talk for about 1.5 years, and now it looks like they're going to finally make it happen. And for Canelo, I just think it's another accomplishment, whether he wins or loses. And I'll save my prediction till we get a little closer to fight night. But Canelo's resume might be second to none. When you look at the caliber of fighters that Canelo has taken on his whole career, and I know there'll be some people like, oh, he ain't fought Benavidez. You can't tell me Benavidez is a better fighter than Crawford. I'm sorry. And I like Benavidez, but he's not a better fighter than Terrence Crawford. And the fact that Canelo is taking this risk at this point in his career against a guy as accomplished as Crawford and as dangerous as Crawford says a lot about Canelo, and it says a lot about Crawford as well. I think it's going to be an amazing fight in September, and I can't wait till we start getting into the promo run and the build-up for it, because this is going to be a great, great fight.
If Canelo were to lose this fight, you still want to see him fight Benavidez?
I would like to see him fight Benavidez. I think styles make fights, and Crawford and Benavidez aren't the same type of fighter. So it's not like if Crawford beats him, he exposes something that Benavidez could do. If Crawford wins, Benavidez can't beat Canelo the way Crawford could. He would have to fight him a different way. So I would still be interested in seeing the fight. Now, if Canelo is dominated by Crawford, then it takes a little bit of shine off the fight, because then you wonder if he's damaged goods by the time he fights Benavidez. But if it's just a good competitive fight and Crawford is the better boxer that night and beats him, hell yeah, I still want to see him fight Benavidez.
Yeah, I want to see him fight Benavidez either way. Shout out to
Benavidez won on Saturday night. Yeah,
he got the dub, keeping that that line of communication open, because I do want to see that fight. I want to see every I want these fights, man. I want every big name fight that we're supposed to get. I want to get it. So hopefully we'll see that take place next year, because obviously it ain't gonna be this year if they're gonna fight in September. So maybe Cinco de Mayo we get Canelo Alvarez versus Benavidez. We'll see.
Possibly Canelo is gonna fight Cinco de Mayo. That's a fact.
Yeah. So then.
Yeah, I think that there's been talks that Canelo and Crawford wanted this fight in September for a couple of reasons. That's Mexican Independence Weekend. They feel like that's a bigger weekend for the fight. Also, I think in May, there's been rumblings about some other big name fighters going down. And obviously the UFC is trying to lock in Cinco de Mayo. That was one of the issues that Canelo had last year when he fought on Cinco de Mayo, that UFC had something going on in Vegas at the same weekend, and they felt it kind of stole some of the thunder from their event. So maybe that's why they chose September. I also think it gives Crawford an opportunity to fight one more time at 160, 165, around there, because he's only done it one time. He wasn't super impressive. He was good, but he wasn't impressive there. So I would like to see him fight one more time before taking on Canelo with that weight gain.
Okay. really quick before we start getting to the final thought, a little bit of NFL talk. Myles Garrett, requested a trade from the Browns. Where do you think he lands? Like who's the best fit for Myles Garrett right now? Who can he put over the top?
There's a couple teams I think he's a great fit for. Shout out to Will Gordon. I know he wants him with the Chargers. He would be a great fit for the Chargers. Chargers do have a good defense, but they could use a younger pass rusher. Joey Bosa's older. Khalil Mack is older. You get Myles Garrett, who's one of the best pass rushers in all of football. I really think in terms of pass rushers, you're really talking about what? Garrett, you're talking about Micah Parsons, you're talking about TJ Watt, right?
Okay.
That's really what you're talking about. Those are the main guys. So anywhere Myles Garrett goes, I think he's going to be impressive. If we're talking about teams that are on the cusp of a Super Bowl, I think Chargers in that conversation. I think Bills would be in that conversation because the Bills need a pass rusher. And maybe Commanders, because the Commanders definitely need a pass rusher for that defense. Outside of that, I think he's a good fit anywhere. He's a guy that can change the complexion of a defense and make you a top 15 defense if you're not already that. If you're a top 15 defense, he can help you be a top 5 defense just because of the amount of pressure that he provides on his own. So he'll be good anywhere. I mean, I would love to see him come to the Colts. We need a pass rusher as well. But
well, I'd like to see him go, but they ain't gonna change it in the division. So I know we ain't.
Nah, he's not. Yeah, anywhere in the division, he's off limits. They won't trade him there, especially because of the history that Baltimore once was the Cleveland Browns. You're not gonna trade with your best player over there.
He was a free agent, but yeah.
I'll say this though, to Will Gordon's point, they have a lot of cap space. They got a great head coach. If the organization is willing to spend money this offseason, I think that is a good landing spot.
Yeah, we talk about it right now. Well, perfect timing. Did you guys already? First of all, pause. Touch on Myles Garrett as getting out. Chargers have room with Khalil Mack tested free agency, and Garrett is a hardball kind of guy. Not at all biased. I'll bet you not at all biased. Well, but yeah, Eric just spoke about Myles Garrett maybe being a good fit for the Chargers. If they do trade him, generally teams try to kick them to the other conference. So look for one of those top NFC teams to maybe go after Myles Garrett. Maybe the Detroit Lions. They could definitely use some help on their defense. He'd be huge help for Detroit because they need all the help. And then him and Aiden Hutchinson together could be a very formidable duo. So maybe that. Again, you mentioned Washington. I mean, so I'm sure the Eagles wouldn't mind taking a stab at
the Eagles. Eagles would love to. Yeah, Eagles would love to try to make. I think, like I said, I think a lot of the top teams would want to go after him. It's just a matter of what it's going to take, how many draft picks, and the cap hit that it's going to take.
Can you get him?
Yeah, so that's going to become the tough part. But yeah, Detroit makes sense. I think a lot of teams make sense, though. The Rams make sense. They got a young defensive line, but obviously they need somebody to fill the role that Aaron Donald once filled there. So there's a lot of teams that make sense.
Maybe Aaron Donald will come back if they get Myles Garrett.
Well, the news also broke today that Cooper Kupp put out a statement. He said that they've already let him know they're willing to trade him and that they're going to be taking offers. They're working with Cooper Kupp to get him traded. So the Rams are moving some things around as well to create more cap space.
So we made that maybe something we see. We gotta wait and see with that one. Really quick, and then you can take over. Final thought, Eric. Big shout out to my main man Jey Uso, winning the Royal Rumble, and shout out to my guy John Cena. He retired, but he ain't leaving like that. He gonna be in the elimination chamber match, and hopefully he get that title shot at WrestleMania, and he walk out, with a 17th championship for WWE. That being said, Eric, give us a final thought, man.
As always, man, shout out to all the supporters. We greatly appreciate it. Stay safe out there. Y'all see what's going on in Trump's America right now. So be careful out there. Be smart. And then also we're gonna do a pregame show, Trip. We got to do a pregame show on Sunday. We'll release the time and let everybody know when to lock in with us. But we definitely want to get a pregame show so we can talk about all our bets and finish off the NFL season the right way. Will Gordon, I'm gonna text you. if you're free, you join the live with us that day as well, so that way we can get into the pregame or the Super Bowl. But yeah, man, looking forward to a great game on Sunday, and bittersweet, man. At the end of the NFL season, it always feels like it was a long season, but it's like, damn, now we got to go without football for a little bit.
Yeah, I had just hit two out of my last, tickets was hitting. It's looking good for the boy, but I'm gonna get this one last weekend, and then that's when I slow down after the NFL season. That's
a fact.
My peak betting is during NFL season. So, but make sure you guys are following us on all our social media: Instagram, Twitter at Real Fan Talk, Facebook.com/Real Fans Real Talk, and of course YouTube.com/For the Fans Productions. Now, if you're not in the New York City area, you can't watch us on Verizon 43 Thursday nights from 8 to 9 p.m. Do not worry. All you got to do is go to that website, realfansrealtalk.com. Click that link on the homepage, and you can watch us from anywhere in the world. And while you're doing that, make sure you subscribe to the two best podcasts moving. That's the Real Fans Real Talk and the Sanchez Show podcast. New content dropping all the time. With that being said, for myself, Trip Young, my brother, Eric Sanchez, a.k.a. Legend in Two Games, we up out of here. Peace.
This is Deion Grant from the New York Giants, Super Bowl champ, and you're watching Real Fans Real Talk.
Live from the can. By the can.
This is Real Fans Real Talk. Real Fans Real Talk. We as real as you thought. Real